joining us this evening. Genuinely, we do appreciate you taking the time, and we do know you're very busy. So thank you very much for coming.
You're
And
welcome.
I'll send this over to Rania and see you guys later.
Yeah.
So I've heard you wrote a book. So yeah.
Like,
Yes,
come
I've
on.
read a lot of books. I've read,
Ah,
who's leading the conversation?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I have. Well, we're talking about the Wasp Trap, I think, which
Yes, I read it.
was
I
my
loved it.
thank you, which is actually my. No, I do genuinely lose count, but I think it was my 16th novel, solo
Mm,
novel. Um,
very good.
and there are also six that I co-wrote with Louise Voss, and then there's some novellas as well. And that doesn't include all the ones that never got published that I wrote when I was younger. So I've written well over 20 books now. And I kind of felt like with this one that I really felt like it was a culmination of all the things that I'd kind of learned over the years coming together. Um, and because had a new publisher and um, I I'd been published by Amazon for a long time, and my books had pretty much only been available as ebooks. I wanted, I felt like I wanted to be much more ambitious with the Wasp Trap than I had been with the previous books, and write something that kind of brought together lots of different influences and yeah, just kind of had brought in like a like a bit. I wanted it to be a big book, like a big book to kind of launch me into that traditional publishing market. So yeah, so the reaction's been really interesting. Lots of people have said that it's my favorite of their books, and then a few people have said that they don't like it as much as the older books because it is different or it is a bit different. So, but then lots of people who've never read me before, who've never even heard of me before, have read this one and really liked it. So yeah, I know that it's a little bit different to my other books, but I genuinely think it's the best thing that I've ever written. So yeah, because it
I
was
don't know if it's the best because I really like The Psychopath Next Door. I really enjoyed. Yeah, I
oh
think I
yeah,
enjoyed it equally. I've read The Retreat,
yeah.
The Psychopath, and this one.
Yeah, I
And
think The Psychopath Next Door is another of the better ones as well, which is amazing because I wrote it in such a rush. I wrote that one really quickly because I was at the end of my contract with Amazon and I they were getting me to write, they wanted me to write a book every 9 months, but then because I got the deal with Penguin, I basically only had a very short amount of time to write that book, like three or 4 months. So I wrote it really fast. And actually I think sometimes when you're forced to write a book really quickly, it works. And I just knew with that book I wanted it to be as dark. I think as dark as possible and for the ending to be quite shocking. Um, and yeah, so I actually listened to the audiobook of that back. Um, and when I was listening back to it, I was like, oh, this is actually good, really good. Sometimes you surprise yourself because yeah, I do think the books that I've had out this year, The Psychopath Next Door and The Wasp Trap have been I'm very happy with both of them. So um so yeah. And then The Christmas Magpie, like we were saying earlier, came out today as well. And that's just a novella. It's only half the length of a regular novel. And that I wrote in like 3 or 4 weeks. So that was really easy. So but yeah, I'm really happy with that one as well. I think it's funny. I tried
the
to make it
standalone. Sorry
funny.
to interrupt you, but is it a standalone? The
No,
Christmas
it's
Magpie,
connected to so it's
the other one.
so Christmas Magpie is you can read it as a standalone, but strictly speaking, it is part of the Magpies series. but it's written so that if no one's read any of the Magpies books, then they can read it. But if you've read The Psychopath Next Door, then it's got Lucy who's in that in the prison, and it's some of it is set in that prison.
Ah, okay.
So it all
Okay, I will read it.
connects to The Psychopath Next Door through the prison, which is a
Okay.
fictional prison, which is in Shropshire, which is near where I live, a women's open prison, like a kind of experimental prison where they've taken some of the worst prisoners and they're trying to treat them nicely to see whether it changes their behavior and turns them into like good citizens. But Lucy is such a psychopath that nothing could
Thank you.
ever change her. Yeah. But
You
yes,
really,
so that's the connection between the Psychopath Next Door and the Wasp Trap is obviously the psychopath. My obsession with psychopaths.
yes, I see that they intrigue you so much.
Yeah. Um, I just like writing characters, or I'm interested in characters who have no empathy or who will do things that ordinary people aren't allowed to do. So, and who feel no guilt or they don't have a conscience. In reality, most people who suffer from psychopathy are not criminals. They're not, they don't go around murdering people. They just, a lot of them end up either just like really unhappy people or they turn out to be quite powerful, like CEOs or politicians, or because they're people who are able to make those kind of decisions without feeling bad about anything. Um,
Have you met a psychopath?
have I met a psychopath?
Yeah.
I think so.
That,
I think I know a couple of people who definitely have traits. I mean, we must all have met psychopaths because
right, that's what I was gonna
Yeah.
say, like that you're aware of. Yeah.
yeah, I think something like 1 in 400 people is a psychopathy and sociopathy are not you can't be clinically diagnosed with those things. The closest is antisocial behavior disorder in like the psychologists and psychiatrists handbook. But but yeah, I read a really interesting book called Sociopath by Patrick Gagne, I think her name is. And it's a memoir of a sociopath. And she describes what it feels like to be, because she knew from when she was like a child or a teenager that she wasn't the same as other people, and she describes it as this kind of, she gets this urge to do like a kind of like an itch inside her brain, and she gets urges to do bad things or things that you're not supposed to do. And it would build up and build up. And in order to kind of stop herself from doing anything really bad, like hurting somebody, she would go and do something like she'd go shoplifting, or she would vandalize something, or she would do some minor thing to kind of like, and it's like letting out pressure from a valve. So she was then able to kind of feel a bit more normal again and just carry on with her life. But she's kind of, the thing is though, because she's a self-confessed sociopath, you have no idea whether to believe anything that she says in this book, which is quite interesting. But yeah, I recommend that if you want to read up on. And there's also the Psychopath Test by John Ronson is a really, really good, accessible book for anyone who's interested in that topic. And I read the original book Without Conscience by Robert Hare, which is mentioned in the Wasp Trap. And he's the guy who came up with the checklist of how to identify psychopaths. So Sebastian Marlowe in the Wasp Trap is obviously obsessed with. He's interested in psychopaths because of what happened to his wife.
Why?
Um, and I just thought when I started planning the book, when I came up with the original plan, I didn't have the psychopath test part in it, but I need because I came up with the original idea, but I didn't actually know what the secret was going to be of the people in the characters in the room. Um, I knew that they'd all worked together 25 years ago, and I decided that a dating website would be a good, interesting kind of setting for that because I'm really interested in like psychometric testing because when in my old job we used to do that quite a lot.
What exactly did you do? Because I read it somewhere that you were working with a high-tech company. What was it?
Yeah, so in 1999, I this was when the dot-com boom happened, as you probably remember, when everyone thought they were going to get rich from forming a
Snap.
a web company and then selling it, and all these companies like eBay and Amazon and um oh God, well, lots that then went bankrupt were in the news. Um, and this group of like former bankers who lived kind of near me got together and created an auction website and an auction and shopping website. And one of these guys was an auctioneer. He's quite often on TV actually. He's on we have these programs in the UK called Bargain Hunt and Flog It and he sometimes appears on those programs as an expert on like antiques and anyway he had this beautiful big house in the middle of the countryside and when they set this company up they we basically just went to work in his house so every and we didn't live in the house like in the book but we would go and visit the house every day. And to get to the house, and this was in the middle of winter, you'd have to walk down a really, really long drive through the trees, kind of through the woods. And it was really creepy. It was like the Blair Witch Project as you were kind of walking into work every day or going home to get to the station. And then we would be in his summer sitting room working on this website. There'd be dogs running around our feet, and there was a lawn outside and a lake. And I just always thought this would be such a brilliant setting that one day I should do something with this setting. And I kind of had that at the back of my mind for over 20 years because I went to work there at the beginning of 2000. Yeah, so nearly 25 years. And then so when I came up with the idea of the Wasp Trap and was like, well, how could they have known each other all these years ago? And I didn't just want them to be old friends. I didn't want them to have gone to university together. I wanted it to be a bit different. I was like, well, maybe they work together. Oh, I could use my experience from when I worked for that dot com. And instead of them all going home every day and coming back, why don't I do it so they live there? And it's a real kind of pressure cooker, and they're all kind of working really hard to try and launch this website. And there's a kind of ticking clock because they know that somebody else is probably going to invent internet dating before they do, and that's exactly what happened in real life because I had to set it in 99 because um, that's the year that Match.com and eHarmony pretty much invented algorithmic internet dating. So they in reality they created it a few months after the events of the book. So it's all kind of the timeline is all real. But it was actually a year before I worked at that. I worked there in 2000, but I had to set the book in 99. So
So
yeah,
you
so
were
that
a
was
developer? Sorry, you
no,
were a
I
developer?
was the writer. I was the copywriter.
Awesome.
I basically had Will's job in the book. I had
Okay.
to write all of the copy for the website, but I didn't have to come up with a name, unlike he does, where he's like spends half the backstory chapters trying to think of a name for the website. I was really happy when I came up with that website name. I was like, yeah, that's perfect because it goes with wasp so well, and yeah. And it wasn't called the Wasp Trap originally either. So I was halfway through the book and trying to come up with a title. And and from a very long list and I was like the Scorpion Trap or the Rat Trap or the I thought the something trap would be a good title. And I just wrote a list of animals of like kind of dark animals that could are dangerous or nasty. And my editor was like, the Wasp Trap, that's a great title. And then I went back and put the wasps into the book. So when I was working on it originally, there were no wasps. So the whole thing with the wasp nest and them calling the psychopath test the Wasp Trap, that all came later after I came up with the title. So yeah, it all felt, as I was writing it, it all kind of felt like all of these things were kind of coming to me and happening that just kind of, it was like the universe was almost like sending these ideas to me. It was amazing. And it all kind of came together. And it was like the whole idea of them voting at the dinner party. That came to me from watching The Traitors, the TV show. I was like, yeah, I can put that in there as well. Um, yeah, so it was just and obviously you know that I'm obsessed with The Secret History by Donna Tartt. So that
Yes.
whole thing the whole thing with the like the old friends who've got this secret and they do something that they can never tell anybody about. That was very much influenced by The Secret History. So the only thing I didn't put in there was Lana Del Rey.
Why?
I know I should have had them listening to
It
Lana
should
at the
be,
dinner
yes, of
party.
course. How could you
However,
do that to Lana?
in my next book, one of the characters is called Elizabeth Grant, and that's Lana Del Rey's
Ah,
real
yeah.
name. So I'm waiting to see how many people spot that.
I haven't finished the book yet, but I did get that feeling of the secret history in the first few
Oh,
chapters.
yeah,
Yeah, I was
yeah. I
like,
mean,
this, yeah.
yeah, I mean, without kind of copying it or anything, I just wanted
But the
to,
feeling, not necessarily like I'm not like,
yeah,
oh yes, good, yeah.
yeah, because I think that that book really, I read that book when I was exactly the right age, like 21 or 22.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, and I think that it's really stayed with me because it kind of captures that feeling of being young and being enamored with a group of other people and kind of being led by other people and wanting to be part of this group that sees themselves as a bit special and and so that's what I wanted to kind of capture, like what if because the characters in this are all in their early 20s, to kind of that nostalgic feeling of what it was like to be young and a bit gauche and a bit and just to feel like the whole world was kind of was waiting for you to go out there and discover it and conquer it and yeah, and it was really good fun going back to the 90s because that's the decade when I was in my 20s and yeah, so I really loved writing those chapters. I just really found it a real pleasure to write those chapters, much more than the dinner party chapters, in fact. They were much more challenging.
How they were challenging to keep the tension, or like you didn't have something in your head, like what to do when they were eating? How was that more challenging?
How was the dinner party more challenging?
Yeah,
I think because the whole thing takes place over one night. So this is the first time I'd written a book that everything takes place over. It's less than 24 hours. It's like seven
yeah.
or 8 hours. And so the kind of mechanics of everything.
No, I lost you.
I can
We
still
can.
see all of you.
Okay, okay, I hear you now.
Okay. So so it was challenging for a number of reasons. First of all, there's a lot of characters.
Yeah.
So I had to be able to introduce those characters without readers getting confused about who's who. Because there's six old friends, there's the chef and his assistant, there's Finn, there's like the stranger at the party, and then you've got all the other characters in the backstory as well. and then Mia as well, who comes into it a bit later, and her missing sister. So there were so many characters that I needed to make sure that they were all very clear and kind of introduced one by one or in pairs, so readers kind of felt like they knew who was who and make them distinct. So
Indeed.
trying to make all these characters distinctive was a really
Challenging.
that was challenging, but hopefully I succeeded.
Oh, yes, you did.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I read the book like 15 days ago, and now that we're talking about it, I still remember who was who, what they were doing.
Okay, good, good.
Yeah,
Yes.
so far it's clear who's who, and even
Okay,
in the
great.
time frame as well. Like if you're switching times and
Yeah,
characters, it can
yeah,
get confusing. It was fine. It's fine so far, I would say.
yeah. I think that it's once you kind of get into the second half of the book and it just gets really, really fast moving and all the secrets and the twists kind of start flowing, then it hopefully is kind of easy to keep up with what's going on.
Sorry.
And so what were the other, yeah, and then I had to kind of come up with a good secret for everybody. It's like some big, some small. And the whole thing with how the missing daughter and Finn, the private detective, and Mia and Georgina and Theo and Sebastian and Dominic, how all of that connected up, this incredibly complicated backstory and plot.
Yes, there were a lot of backstories, the truth is, but
Yeah,
I was fascinated. I really loved it. And
good.
in fact, I was reading it and I was telling Jonah, see what he did. He did exactly what you say at at your writing retreats. I'm like, "No, he used this. What a nice line."
Right.
I was doing that
Yeah.
constantly.
It was
To be clear, she wasn't giving me credit. He's doing
right.
what you say at the retreat. No, to be clear, she
Yeah.
was congratulating you on expert writing
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
and connecting it to what we discuss at writing retreats. Correct.
Okay.
I
Okay.
love
Yeah.
the way he
Okay.
described this through motion and action or through dialogue without giving me 3 lines of only description. I
Yeah.
love how he's moving the story forward with this and that. Oh, I like how he did that. He used an action tag instead of a speech tag. Oh, this is brilliant. She
Yeah.
kept because we have two reclining chairs that we sit and play classical music and we read together. And she was
Right.
reading your hardcover beside me and often gasping. So
Oh,
and then
good.
stopping. Oh, listen to this, and she'd
Yeah.
read me a paragraph, and we were both like, "This is brilliant." So
Oh, that's what I like to hear.
yeah,
That's what I like to hear.
yeah.
No, that's good. That's great. I mean, yeah. I mean, it was the other thing that was different about this book to all my others was that I did actually plan it before I started writing it, which I never used to do. I used to I'd have the kind of opening, I don't know, 10, 20%, and then I would have a few. I might know what kind of like the twist was going to be, or I'd know what the midpoint was going to be, or something, but the rest of it I would figure out as I went along. And then I would go back and do loads and loads of redrafting and throwing tens of thousands of words away and then writing. But this one I actually plotted it out like I write it like a long, very long synopsis, like a 6 or 7, no, like probably even longer, like a 10-page piece of prose, like a 6 or 7 thousand word synopsis. And although some of it did change a little bit as I was going along, most of it I actually stuck to it, and it was like a revelation. It was like the first time I'd ever done that, and it did make it so much easier. And now you're going to ask me whether I did that with the book that I've written since. And I tried. I really tried, and I just couldn't make it work. Like as soon as I started writing it, I realized it didn't work. So I kept going back and trying to replan it and replot it. And in the end, I just had to just let it just let it go and just write the book. And then I then had to do loads and loads of rewriting and editing once I'd finished it, and that's what I've been doing over the last couple of months is rewriting that book. So I would love to always be able to plot out my books, but I do find it quite hard. Ooh, spooky.
My light
This is
went
like
off.
that. Have you ever seen that horror film, Host, which is all on Zoom call? Have you seen that? It's really
So I go from one's in a moment when I leave this camera, I'll be beside Sue Manley. Then I'll jump in with well, her lights went out. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I
had to turn
wondered
them
what
on.
happened. Yeah,
Jane being the good host that she is.
right.
I'll be back in my little square in a moment.
Okay. We've got someone called Maria has joined us as well, I think.
Maria's iPhone. I think, I don't know if she's here or not. We'll see.
Um, yeah, how long have we got? We got just over 10 minutes. Have you got
Yes.
any other questions specifically about anyone about the book or
Can
Sue?
I ask you something?
Yes.
Have you ever put in your book somebody who's wronged you in the past and written them as a wicked character in your book? Any of your books?
So,
Or anyone you know?
well, yeah, I mean the neighbors in the Magpies are based on my real neighbors that I
Oh,
had
gosh.
when when I was in my 20s, my mid-20s, I left university and moved in with my then girlfriend. And she had a first floor flat. So there was a couple living downstairs, and they were just really horrible people who tried to make our lives a misery. They were just I think that they why they lived in a basement flat or the garden flat as they insisted on calling it. I do not know because they couldn't bear having anybody like walking around. And I really don't think we were noisy. Maybe I played my music loud a few times, but we weren't noisy, bad neighbors. And they used to like bang on the ceiling all the time. They would send us really horrible, threatening letters. They would send us hoax parcels. They signed us up to all these book clubs and things. We knew it was them because we actually saw the handwriting that was used to fill out the application form. They used to put cigarette butts under our door. They used to when I wasn't there, he was like this really big guy and he used to come up and like threaten my girlfriend. They were just really horrible. Anyway, we were renting, when we finally moved out, I thought, well, how much worse could it have got? And what would I have done in that situation? Um, so I then started writing that book, The Magpies, and I don't picture Lucy and Chris, the baddies in that book. They don't look like, well, he does a little bit. Chris looks a bit like the real guy, but Lucy is looks very different to the real woman who. And I wonder whether they ever knew that I'd written that book, and I'm sure they don't.
You
And
should
you know that
send them the book.
everybody send them a book.
Of
Yeah.
course.
I don't want them to. I really don't want them to
Like,
know. I
With,
don't
They
want them.
still your
with love, your
neighbors.
favorite neighbor.
Yeah, but they were just. But yeah, the fact that that happened to me gave me a really great story to tell, and that book changed my life because it was like my first big bestseller and kind of allowed me to become a full-time writer. So I actually can thank them for being so awful. Apart from that, no, not really. I think that the characters are all. I am a people watcher, like all writers are. Like I'll sit in cafes and listen to conversations, and if people have got little quirks or things that they say or the ways that people behave, I'm always making a mental note of it. And but then the characters will be an amalgam of all of those influences or all those observations. So yeah, I don't base them on actual real people. Yeah. So apart from the psycho neighbors. But yeah,
Can I ask one more thing?
of course, yeah.
I love the phrase "wasps are nature's psychopaths."
Oh
When
yeah.
you wrote that, I think that's really clever. Have you ever been stung badly by wasps?
So I have been stung by wasp, but not badly. I was stung actually when I was promoting the Wasp Trap this year. I actually
Oh
got stung
gosh.
when I was at a festival, which felt like a good omen. But my sister was like a wasp magnet when she was a kid.
Oh,
So I don't actually remember this, but my mum has described it very vividly that when I was about 3 or 4, we were on the beach and my sister was only a baby, like 18 months or something. No, she must have been a little bit older because she was drinking a can of drink. So maybe she was 2 or 3 and I was a bit older. And she had a swig from a can of drink and it had a wasp in it and it stung her on the tongue. And her tongue immediately started swelling up and she had to be rushed to hospital.
oh, geez.
And I was left with my cousin, who was a bit older, on the beach. This was the 70s, so people used to just leave children anywhere.
How could she be stung
We were
on the
left on
tongue?
our own on the beach. And then a few years after that, she stood on a, so what happens in the book when Georgina stands on the wasp's nest, that actually happened to my sister. And I remember seeing that really clearly. She stood on the nest and suddenly all these wasps came swarming out and like went up her clothes and she got dozens of stings. She was screaming. I can still remember her screaming. Um, but yeah, like I said, so the I had the psychopath test idea first and then the title, and it just felt like, and although I kind of I'm a vegetarian and very like kind to animals and things, I wouldn't kill a wasp. If I ever we try and catch them and let them out. So yeah. I do realize though that most people hate wasps, but really they're just kind of doing their job, trying to eat aphids and help the planet, whatever they do. They're not, I know they don't do as much good as bees, but they do actually eat aphids and do a good job for to keep us all going. So they're actually quite an important part of the ecosystem.
I see them as bullies. Like the good bees are the good ones, and the wasps are the bullies.
Yeah, I
Yes.
know, but I know that's what everybody thinks, and yeah, it's like spiders.
Oh,
People hate. There's a lot of spiders in like the Magpies books as well, and it's interesting actually how many people are so arachnophobic that they won't even read a book they know there's going to be a spider in it,
Oh,
let
geez.
alone a picture of a spider on the cover, which was a probably a commercial mistake with with the Magpie sequels has got a picture of a spider on it. And I think there are people who won't buy that book because there's a spider on the cover. Because they just can't even look at a picture of a spider. So yeah.
I wonder how many have arachnophobia. It's Greek word, it's arachnophobia.
Yeah. Oh,
What would
it's
be
a
the
great,
percentage?
yeah. It must be the most common phobia, I would say. So it's up there anyway with claustrophobia and fear of heights and yeah,
Fear of the dark.
fear of the dark. Yeah.
Probably not as popular, but yeah, you're right. Fear of heights and
Yeah. But wasps, there are a lot of people. So I met somebody when I was going around books. So you do this thing where you go around bookshops and introduce yourself to booksellers and say, have a proof of my book and hopefully you'll stock it. And we went to this one shop in Tunbridge Wells in Kent. And the woman who runs the shop was like, oh my God, I can't even the word wasp, like I can't. She's like, I can't ever go anywhere where I might encounter a wasp. So
Geez.
she'd never go on a picnic. She'd never go in a pub garden. She wouldn't go on the beach in summer. She wouldn't go anywhere where she thought she might. So I was like, well, that's great. She's not going to stock my book because she's so terrified of wasps. Yeah. So, Anyway,
My son had the wasp experience. He was naughty when he was 6 years old, and he was
yeah.
messing with a nest. So it
Oh
was on a
God.
log, and there were some other kids that like, you have to take this away from there. So my son, being small and listening to the other kids, he tried to do it, and then there were dozens of them, and they
Oh
stuck
God.
behind his neck,
No.
so the back of his neck. So we had to go and like, okay, so you're not allergic.
Mm. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and he put all these creams because he was swollen. He was bad.
yeah.
I have one question. When you write, do you have an image of your characters, like how they look like? You make them up, or you have a specific person in your head, an actor or a friend or whatever?
No, I actually don't picture my characters very clearly at all. They're just to me like they're blurry, I guess is the best way to describe it. I have a sense of them, of their kind of like almost like their aura, I suppose, rather than seeing what they look like. Um, so yeah, I just don't really picture their faces. Um, and I certainly never picture the face of the main character whose point of view I'm writing from, because I'm kind of seeing everything through his eyes. I don't really think about what he looks like.
Oh,
So I kind of know. So Sophie, for example, is I know like her ethnicity because her dad is from Trinidad and Tobago and her mum was a white English woman. I can kind of because and that was the ethnicity of my best friend at school. So I kind of took that. So I can kind of vaguely picture what she looks like. Um, and I have a kind of image of Sebastian as well. But I can't really see his face, but I can kind of see like his
everything but his
physicality and
face.
yeah. Do you picture your characters when you're writing them?
It depends. I have either, if I don't have a specific person in my head, they're blurry. As you say,
Mm,
there is no face.
yeah.
However, I have Tiffany Bessler torturing her in My Wife in Ruins
Oh
because I
right.
just decided.
Oh, she's so lovely, Tiff.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
So I was like, do you want to have an exciting life and me torturing you, but you'll have a happy ending? So I said, okay. So unless I know someone and I decide to put him in a situation where, or
Yeah.
if or if someone that I don't like and he
Right.
must die, that's the best.
Right.
Like,
Okay. Yeah.
but they're usually
Revenge.
blurry though.
Yeah. I picture the scenes, I picture the like what's going on in the room. They kind of play out like films. I have a very clear sense of like what's happening, but the people are almost kind of like shadowy figures moving around in the room. It's really hard to describe, I think, what it's like, what's going on in your head when you're writing it.
I can
I'm
understand that though.
I just want to quickly add, I think you're describing exactly the way I see my characters too.
Yeah,
The only difference for me is if I have a bad guy with like a snake tattoo wrapped up around his ear,
right.
or I've got a specific scar that goes from his hairline all the way down to his
Yeah,
chin. You know, if
yeah,
I have a specific thing, I'll always see that when I'm writing this character.
yeah,
But otherwise, it's quite blurry. I don't know what their
yeah.
nose looks like or their eyes or their, yeah.
No, I know. I Somebody actually sent me an email recently saying, um, English novelists are obsessed with blue eyes. Like, why do characters always have blue eyes? And I want to thank you for having some characters with brown eyes. And I was like, I don't even remember mentioning the color of any of the characters' eyes. Maybe I did. I just forgotten about it. But yeah, I think that's another thing that I'm kind of aware of as well is trying to have a like a mix of characters like ethnically and because that like reflects where I live, like the the world that we live in. And so um but it's I kind of don't really I try not to describe my characters too much, kind of maybe beyond kind of what their heritage is or whatever. Because I think that readers, it's much more powerful for readers to be able to imagine what they look like, I think. Because I never take on board if a writer gives a really detailed description of what a character looks like, I think I don't even take it in. I just picture them as how I picture them anyway.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so
we've hit, just to give you a
yeah.
heads up, we've hit the time limit for him. I
I
don't
just
want to
want to
make
say,
him.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, just one thing. So when it was Maria's iPhone, I thought that it was the Maria that is sitting next to me, but it's another Maria. So the Maria that is
Yeah.
sitting next to me, hi Maria.
Hello. I'm from Cyprus, Maria.
Oh,
I'm
hi,
Maria.
hello.
Hello. It's
Ah,
just that
Oh, you have
I'm a little bit sick. That's why
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
okay.
show myself. I don't want you to see me in this situation. And my
Yeah,
voice, as you can
okay.
hear,
I
it's a
can.
little bit. Could I ask a question?
yes, it'll have to be the last one because I'm going to have to run off after.
Oh, I'm
I've
so
got another
sorry.
web chat starting at 8, which I need to set up.
Oh, I don't understand that.
But
It's
yeah, you
just a
can ask.
short
Yeah,
one.
yes.
Just a short one.
Yeah.
Actually, I have a problem with some friends' reader that they reading my script, and usually when I want to finish with somebody dying, like I mean, there are some characters that they have to die at the end,
Mhm.
and because it's not politically correct for them, they don't like it, they want them to continue and live and survive, and that's what my question. Do you think that we have to follow what they would like them to do, or do we believe that they have to um
Yeah, but I think, well, you're the writer, so I think it's your choice ultimately. And I think that I don't think any character, I think if you're writing a thriller or a horror or suspense or whatever,
psychological mostly, yeah.
okay, psychological, yeah, which is what I write. So I feel I think the reader should feel like nobody is safe. So that
Yeah,
because otherwise there's no sense of peril. If you think everyone's going to survive and live happily ever after, then the only
yeah,
thing I always say is that the cat will survive, but the humans, any of them could die. So I think even if people say, "Oh, it made me really sad that this character had to die," so there's like an elderly lady in The Psychopath Next Door who lives opposite the main
mhm,
Remember?
characters. And lots of people were kind of really upset that I killed her.
yeah,
Well, I didn't kill her, but my characters killed her. But she had to go. She had to go. It was very
exactly.
important for the plot. And I wanted people, and you want people to feel things when those characters. I feel like if they feel upset or hurt
Mhm.
and you kill a character, then you've actually done a good job because you've made them care about them.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
that's
Oh,
reader
that's
emotion. That's
Yeah.
brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
So
Thank you.
yeah, kill them all, kill them all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Mark. We
Oh,
really
thank
appreciate you
you.
taking the time. We know you're busy, so thank you for this, and we look forward to seeing you in
You
next year
too.
at the reading retreat.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I can't wait.
We cannot wait to see you again in
Yeah,
June.
it's gonna be great.
All right.
Okay, right. Well, I need to rush off and get my
Yep.
own
Okay,
Zoom thing
okay.
set up. But thank you very much, and I'll talk
Thank
to you
you.
soon.
Thank you, everyone, for joining
Thank
us.
you.
Good
Thank you.
night.
Thank
Bye-bye.
Night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye.
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 Bye
Bye.
bye. That was brilliant, Rania. Well done.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much.